Alright guys, what's going on? So I'm going to try to explain here some of the issues I've been seeing on some Subaru Facebook pages where at least a week I see a post asking about they've had a reading pop up on a feedback knock or something on their car, and they're trying to figure out what it is, what it means, if it's good, if it's bad, what to do about it. So there's a lot of posts by Cobb that I've seen on their websites trying to explain what it means, but I've never really found a video or anything that I've liked explaining it. So I'm gonna try to do kind of a basic explanation here. I'm not gonna go into every detail about it and be like very scientific. I'm just gonna try to explain to people who are curious what it may mean, and maybe give people a little better sense of feeling okay about their car when something happens like this. First, start out by saying feedback knock and DAM. Your DAM is your dynamic advancement or dynamic advance multiplier. Those two are straight correlated to each other. When you have one, you kind of have the other in a sense. So we're gonna first start out by explaining feedback knock. So feedback knock, or also called detonation, that occurs when the piston goes to the top of the cylinder, and the detonation, when the spark fires, is not happening exactly when it should. So it's probably happening before the piston hits top dead center, and you get it makes a noise, kind of like a knock or a ping noise, because what's happening is it's detonating, and then the piston's hitting that detonation, and it's making kind of a noise. That's kind of just the general sense, so you can understand kind of what I'm referring to there by knock. So normally when that happens and you have an access port, which is what most people run on Subarus, of course, it'll read a knock reading. A normal knock reading can be between 0 and about 2.8. I'll first start by saying that all cars have knock. It happens. You try to avoid it, of course, but it happens. So the normal reading, like I said, is going to be between 0 to 2.8. That's kind of a normal reading. That can happen from just being in like a higher gear at lower speed. If it happens very consistently, then that could be something to look into. But if it just happens at kind of random times, that's not anything uncommon, especially I've heard guys being on the interstate and just kind of cruising, they may have one hit or something. Yeah, that's not uncommon, especially in that very low range there. That happens a lot, actually. So that's not a big deal to worry about. So when you start to get between 0 to 4.8, or what I should say is between the 2.8 to 4.8, that is therefore considered a fine knock. That's when actually a true knock is happening to the car. And if that happens very consistently, then it's definitely something you need to take a look at. Start data logging it. If you can almost pinpoint when it happens, like if you have a consistent driving route that you take and there's almost an exact time when it happens, you should definitely data log that and send it to Cobb, and they can kind of discuss furthermore what that may be. But yeah, that's definitely an area that you may be suspicious of. Anything that happens more than this, if it happens more than 4.8, then there's definitely an issue there that could happen. So 11.8 is the highest the feedback knock can go. Now, with that being said, I have seen guys see 30. A 30 number has popped up. That was an issue with the code on the access ports themselves. There was a software problem where something would just happen with the code and it would just shoot a 30 out of nowhere, I guess. So that was an issue. If you ever see a 30, update your access port. So update that first and then go back and start to look to see if there's any knocks or anything. So this kind of gets me to the point of where these relate. So I'm gonna go over here and try to explain DAM a little bit. So DAM is normally, so if you have a, a 2003 or newer, I believe, Subaru, DAM is between 0 to 1. I think if it's older than that, it's up in like the 2 or something, or it has something to do with 2. I'm not too familiar with that area, so I do apologize. But generally speaking, most people have between 2003 to 2015 Subarus. I think that's where the bulk is right now. And this is for all non-direct injected ones, so like the 15 or newer ones, like the WRXs with the FA20s. This is for just your EJ motors. So anyhow, 0 to 1. 1 is normal. When you turn the car on, it should be at 1. Now that's if you don't have any prior tuning. A tuner can go in and change your ignition timing there, and it could not be at 1. But your normal off-the-shelf maps and 99% of maps are going to be at 1 when you start, or they should be. What happens with this is if your car is actually, if it senses the actual knock is happening and it's getting higher or close to this 11.8 range, it will start to pull ignition timing to correct for that. So it's trying to fix the problem and it's trying to save the car. I've talked to a lot of tuners about this before. One tuner specifically, they tune anywhere from 3 to 4 Subarus a day is what the owner told me. And I kind of picked his brain about this issue, and we kind of had a really good discussion about it. And he said it's not as big an issue as people make it out to be, because the cars are designed to, if this happens, they're trying to fix it. The car is. It's trying to save it. It will go all the way down to 1 if it thinks it can save the car. So you may have an issue to where you'll have a knock. It'll go above maybe a 4.8 and go into this higher range here, and the car will jump down from a 1 to maybe say a 0.8, 0.9 or something, and then spike right back up to 1. That's exactly what the car should do. It's fixing that knock. It saw that there was a knock in a certain rev range or load range, and it fixed it. That's good. That's what's supposed to happen. So if you're seeing levels of where it's jumping really far down, there could be a bigger issue, and it's staying down. That's the thing. If it goes down very quickly and then jumps back up, that's okay. That's what it's supposed to do. But if it goes down from 1 to like, say like a 0.3, 0.4, 0.5 range and stays down there for a little bit, that's where you may result an issue with the car, and you want to get that further looked at. So with all that being said, there is some ways that the access port can read a false knock. Your knock feedback sensor is not a very advanced thing. It is literally a microphone mounted to the block of your engine. And it just listens for certain frequencies and through the engine, and it sends it to the ECU, and the ECU then decides to classify that as a knock or not, and then how severe of a knock that is. You can kind of see how that can be manipulated into false knock readings. Like I was saying, a higher gear at low speed, that can introduce a false knock. I could almost go out and show you guys how to even do one in my car. If you were going up a hill and you shifted into a higher gear and it bogged the car down and the engine shook or the trans shook because there was a load on it, a knock is almost gonna happen. Like it doesn't know what to do with like that sound, I guess. So that's very common there. That's not an issue. Like I was saying, especially if it's in that low 2.8 range, you're fine through there. Another thing is bad fuel. I had an issue one time where it was right during winter. I always run 93 in my car. It was right through winter, and I put some 93 into it, and then a day or so later I started getting very funny feedback knocks, and then it spiked on me real high one time, and then the dam corrected it. I mean, faster than I even caught it. I didn't even see it happen, and it corrected it, and I called Cobb and asked them if fuel could be an issue, and they said yeah, without a doubt. So what I did to correct that is I switched to a 91 map and kept putting 93 in it, and then I never had a knock since. And then now that it's getting closer to summer, I switched back to my 93 tune, and it's been fine. So you guys gotta kind of watch with the winter blends of fuel and stuff like that. Another issue with false knock could be blow by. Big thing with Subarus is blow by. You should learn about it if you don't know what it is. Blow by can induce knock. I have an IAG air oil separator on mine, and I don't have anything to compare that to be honest with you. I don't know if it was better before or better after. But it's a good precaution that I took to help the life of my motor. So that's another thing you could look into to help stop possible knocks. Another thing mechanically wise, a bad MAF sensor or O2 sensor, any one of those could cause a bad reading through the engine, because essentially what would be happening then is the engine's not reading the correct amount of air that's coming in, and it doesn't know what's right from wrong with the engine, and then it could shoot a knock. Yeah, I'm not saying that could be an actual knock. It could just be another false knock reading because the engine is not getting correct information. Another thing is a boost leak, especially on my model of Subarus from the 2008 to 2014 models on the WRXs. There's a throttle body hose there. And if you add any more boost, like even a small tune, even on the stock tune, I've heard of guys, that's a weak point in the boost flow. So basically a safe thing to say with being in wide open throttle, you don't really want to see anything. Even if it's small, below the 2.8 range, you don't really want to see anything there. If you do, of course, get out of the throttle and start to maybe log and send it to Cobb and see what they kind of say with it. This isn't to scare, this whole explanation was not to scare anybody, but just to give some people some information on what they may be looking at when they're driving their Subaru and they see something pop up on their feedback knock or their dam or anything. So don't be scared, guys, when it happens. Like I said, this range is normal. There are false knock readings. It does happen. It's not a very advanced system. And remember that your dam it's there to save you. It's trying to save the car. Just be mindful of a lot of those things when you're driving. Do some more research. Do some research yourself, guys. Don't take my word exactly for this. This wasn't a full scientific method on this. This is just kind of a general explanation of what kind of happens with this. Yeah, do some investigating on yourself, do some learning, read as much on this as you can. I always try to learn more when I can, but especially if you're going to have a Subaru and you want to keep it for a long time, learn as much about it as possible and see what's going on with the car. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you like this little kind of engineering explained idea here that I had. Hope it helps some of you guys out just to kind of be curious, maybe get to talking on what happens. If you guys know more than I do, leave them in the comments. Let me know. I'm glad to learn new information about this, especially with Subarus and tuning and everything. But yeah, leave it in the comments. I'll try to reply back to you guys, and thanks for watching, guys.